Start to record. And let's kick off the streaming. Let's check on Kick if we're all good. Just post it to Twitter. And it should be kicking up in a moment. Let's see. Double check. Yeah, it looks like I'm streaming. Kick's not refreshing. Let's give it another minute. Cool, we're live. Well, I hope everyone's been enjoying their holidays. So let's get started with Machine Dreams drawing. Here's our Etherscan. So there were no purchases this week, so this will be pretty quick, similar to the past few weeks. I do have a couple of updates on the project and some of my personal projects, so let's get right into it. First, let's check how many pieces of art there are in our database, and it looks like we have 1,060. And let's draw our number, and as we're drawing our number, then I'll get into the updates, since we'll have to wait for this to return anyways. So let's transact. All right, Sepolia, that looks like it went through. Let's check our contract to verify that it went through. See, our last fulfilled was 6 days ago, so that's expected, the last time we had our drawing. And we should see a request sent pop up in a minute or two. Make sure that's done here. Yep, looks like our transaction was sent. Looks like it's taking a bit longer than usual. All right, 31 seconds. Cool. So the request was sent. It'll be a minute or two for it to be fulfilled. And while that's being fulfilled, let's go over some updates for the project. So first, I mentioned that there is a bit of a discrepancy between what's happening on the website and on Twitter. So I started the process of going through some of the images that aren't posted on the website. Here I'm marking down what were the timestamps where those weren't being displayed. And I'm starting to keep a log, so with an explanation of what happened here. So as you can see, the first time an image didn't publish was October 30th at around 4 p.m. And the reason why was because Stability AI was actually down, and I've included a link to their report. So if you take a look at Stability AI, you can see here that about 9 minutes after 4 p.m., they identified an issue with their API, and it took them maybe like 40 minutes to resolve that. So for that reason, an image wasn't actually generated, and you won't be able to find an image on the site for that timestamp. So what I've decided is that in a lot of cases that I'm not necessarily going to pick it up, there's not a great way for me to be notified that the API is down. So we'll just keep going up until the total 10,000 images are printed, and then that's when the last image will be developed. So here's our spreadsheet. Once I'm done going through this process, what I'll do is I'll document all the issues here, make the updates in the database as necessary, and then I'll post a link to this in the About section of the Machine Dreams so that anyone can take a look at it, see if they were looking for a particular image, if it's missing, or if there are any issues there. And just so that we can all have this for transparency, you know what's going on, and it's a good way for me to review the project, see how it's performing, acknowledge different issues that are happening. I mean, for Stability AI, there's not really anything I can do about that. But there are cases that when there are issues with IPFS, which I'm working on another project, and IPFS seems to kind of suck in some areas. A lot of the images that you're publishing to their database doesn't become available for a long time. So displaying that image from IPFS is a little bit tricky. And in my project, it's kind of retrying several times, sometimes like 30 different times to pull the URL, make sure it's rendering the image. So I'll just keep monitoring IPFS, see how that works. And as I mentioned, make the updates to the spreadsheet, post the spreadsheet into the About section, and share that with everyone. So that's the updates with the database issues. I hope to have that resolved by next week. And then my next update is the Nerve 8 podcast. So for those who don't know, Nerve Ape is a NFT collection on the Nervos network. It has a bunch of different apes with different body parts and kind of like accessories that you can swap out and completely customize your own one. They've had tons of different events where, like the Halloween one, you can customize your NFTs. So it's a pretty interesting project, and they've invited me to speak on their podcast that's recently launched. I think they have 3 episodes so far. So I'll be on their podcast on Monday discussing the project, what is Machine Dreams, answering a few questions, and just kind of hanging out with the team for a bit. So stay tuned for that. I'll post a link for the Nerve Ape podcast where everyone can find it, and kind of a recap once we've recorded that. Lastly, I've also been working with LilyPad Network. For those who aren't familiar, it's a distributed compute network. So a lot of these AI jobs, they take a lot of GPUs and processing power to generate this image. So if you're Stability AI, it could cost you, tens of millions of dollars to buy the GPUs to run this kind of system. And LilyPad provides a service where you don't necessarily have to own the GPUs. You can rent them out from other people for individual jobs. So you don't have to have your whole system running on these different computers. You can just run your algorithm once and have an image generated, or have, let's say, like your own version of ChatGPT. And when you want to generate a piece of text, you're basically renting the GPUs to process that job on other people's computers. So it's a fairly new network. I've been working with them, putting together some DevRel type of work. And I'm putting together a demo on how to build a front end using their software, and also how to fine tune art bots so that you can potentially train an art bot on your own work of art. So this actually, they've reached out to me because of my work on the Machine Dreams. So it'll be interesting to see how the art evolves and how together we can create different opportunities for other people to get involved into AI art. So those are my main updates. Let's go back to the Etherscan. Give me 1 second. Let's go back to the Etherscan to check the number that was generated to see who won this week's fan reward. So the request is filled here. Let's check our number, 672. We were stuck in the 300s for a little bit, so I'm glad to see that there aren't any actual issues there. Let's see, 672. All right, and this is the winner for this week. So let's see, where's the Twitter link? Okay, something about BYU Cougars men's basketball. I'm not really familiar with the team, but I'm guessing this is like college basketball. Yeah, it looks like it's college basketball. So there were no interactions with this post again, so the money's going to stay in the wallet. That's all of our updates for today. I'll make the recap post as usual with the piece of art that won, the information on the Nerve Ape podcast, where you can find that for next week, and the updates for the error logs that are going on with the project. I'll also include some information on LilyPad for anyone who's interested in where that work is going and what you can do with LilyPad. So stay tuned, and thanks everyone for tuning in.